When you stand on the podium, who's the most difficult audience? I still remember when I gave my first speech in a Toastmasters meeting, I was distracted by almost everybody and everything. Even a small movement of audiences distracted me and made me lose my words. To be honest, I still often lose my words during my speech. For some reasons, we have a moment we forget what to speak in conversation. Then what we meet is silence. Let's think about the conversation in teaching. Teaching is also part of conversation. The one very special and very interesting because its way of speaking is like a ping pong game. Let me give you a general example of classroom conversation. A teacher speaks first by instructing and asking a question. Then students need to say something, so they answer the question. Then the tone of speaking goes back to the teacher again. And its pattern of speaking is on and on and on during the class. That is the classroom conversation. Then in teaching, who will be the most difficult audience? Can you guess, especially to teacher? From my experience, student silence was a terrible headache. And it wasn't only me. I found many researchers studied about student silence, and among them, one thing caught my attention. The researcher said, the Confucianism in Asia causes student silence, which sounds very, very interesting. However, I disagree with that. So, with my professor's help, I started to analyze classroom conversation, including my classroom conversation, as focusing on teachers' questioning and student silence. From my research, I found several significant functions of student silence, and today I'd like to show you one of them, which I can show you how I manage student silence. Here's one part of my classroom conversation I transcribed. The student silence occurs in line 53, 55, and 57. My initial question here is, which season is the background of the story, in line 51. Then the students stay in silence. In line 54, I repeat the same question, since I assume there might have been the hearing problem. However, despite the repetitive question, the students stay silent. Consequently, I asked the question in line 56, saying like, do you know what background is? This line shows the teacher decides to change the nature of the question. However, the students alter silence tone again in 57. Then the teacher assures that the word background is incomprehensible to the students. Thus, explaining the meaning of the word background begins in line 58. This excerpt shows how I get the information about students' comprehension from reading their silence. As you've seen, the teacher's question changed after their silence. It's a long, boring way of analyzing conversation, I know, I really know. My point is, student silence is more than consequence affected by the Confucianism or cultural thing. It is a significant part of classroom talk. Teachers are able to notice students' comprehension by reading their silence. By analyzing student silence, teaching direction can differ. After the silence, the teacher might change the nature of question or shift to an example. Fellow Toastmasters, my podium is in front of young students. I guess you might have a different podium, and your difficult audience would be different from mine. What's equally important is our difficult audience can show us a new perspective. I bet you can learn something from it. Thank you. Back to Madam Toastmasters.